Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Hannah Claire Reads. Today, by popular request, I am going to do my popular books I hated. So I have an iffy track record with Goodreads ratings and other people's reviews. So I will see that a book is rated super highly or everyone will be giving it 4 or 5 stars, and then I will read it and I'm like, what did I miss? Am I just missing something? Because I hated it. And this has been happening for forever. And so today we are going to talk about those books that severely disappointed me. And I'm sorry if these are your favorite books, not trying to offend you. I'm just saying I didn't like these books. Your opinion is still valid. I'm just over here really confused as to why I didn't like a book. I actually kind of get mad at myself when I don't like a book, and I really try to figure it out. Like, what's wrong with me? Why did I not like this book? But in all of these circumstances, I still think it's the book, not me. That's the problem here. Some of these books that I'm going to be discussing, I didn't actually hate. They're more so, I disliked them, or I wanted them to be something else. So I'm going to discuss those books first, and then we're going to get into the juicy ones where I hated them. The first book that I disliked when I had such high hopes was A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Now, this book has very, very mixed reviews, but a lot of the people I know really enjoyed this book, and I just didn't. I enjoyed the reading process of the book. That was great. I liked that I had another Hunger Games book, but I didn't like the characters. I felt like it was way too long, and I just didn't care what was happening, and in the end I was confused. I just, honestly, it's been so long, I don't quite remember why I didn't like the book. I just remember it's boring. It was so boring. Nothing happened that was interesting, and the parts of the Hunger Games that I loved were missing in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I felt like it did make a couple strong points. I enjoyed the relationship between Snow and the doctor, whatever her name was. I thought that was interesting, but it was more so that Suzanne Collins was coming out and saying, this is the point I want you to get from Snow's story, instead of like showing us through action, and it was just weird. The next book that I was just really disappointed in, I feel bad saying this on BookTube because I really do support this author and I plan on reading her next book and I love her videos, but that is Again But Better by Christine Riccio, our beloved Poland Bananas books. Okay, so maybe I just didn't go into this with the right mindset, but I don't like knowing a ton of things before I go into books. And it's helpful because I always forget what a book's going to be about before I read it. Anyway, I kind of just go into books with a general feeling of the book. And I didn't know this was going to be time travel. So I go through the entire first half of the book just angry at everything that's happening. And then I get to the second half of the book and I'm like, what am I reading? I was not expecting this. I wanted a fluffy contemporary, and this was not it. And so part of that's me, but I was like, what is this? And then the other thing I had a huge problem with is that the characters were super shallow and the writing was just very immature. Now, I mean, this is Christine's first book that she's published, and she's young. Like, I think there's definitely a lot of room for improvement, but I just saw a lot of the same writing styles that I see in a lot of young writers who just haven't matured into their full writing style. I just felt like it wasn't where it should be for a popular New York Times best-selling author, and I was really disappointed in that. Now, I do like a lot of the concepts in this book. Like, I liked the idea of Shane embracing who she is and pursuing her passions. Like, that, I related to that because I'm an English major, and like sometimes I'm like, am I gonna make any money, or do I just want to follow, like, study what I love? So I enjoyed that aspect, but everything else was just weirdly done. Yeah. And it just wasn't it for me. I'm sorry. And the last disliked book that I have on my list is, I feel really bad about this one too, but it is All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This book was supposed to be incredible, and I feel like it's me that was the reason why I didn't enjoy this book. It's incredibly atmospheric. There are so many details in this book. It took him 10 years to write it, and you can tell from like the first page that obviously took him 10 years to write this book. But I didn't see the point of the book. Like, I still can't tell you what the book was about. I have no idea what the book was about. I felt like he just wanted to paint a picture of two characters in World War II, and that's it. I'm not a fan of atmospheric books. Like, I need a plot. I can't just deal with some atmosphere and some setting. Like, I need something happening, and I felt like nothing happened at all. It was just weird, and I don't know, maybe I just wasn't getting something. Maybe I was missing something, because everyone I've ever talked to loved the book, but I didn't. Okay, now it's time to talk about the books that I actually hated. So the first one that I actually hated was Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I don't know anyone who's actually liked this book, and I'd really like to actually hear if someone liked this book, because I'd like to see why they liked the book. But I hated it. At first, I think the first read through, well, I mean the only read through, I haven't actually reread it, but the first time I was kind of blind to it. I thought I was just engrossed with the fact that it was another Harry Potter book, and so I enjoyed the reading process. But then, as I took a step back from it, I was like, why did any of that happen? Why was this the way it is? It was like it undid everything that the original series did in one terrible screenplay. Oh, it was so bad. Like, and focused on things that weren't even important. The characters were annoying, and it didn't feel like I was reading Harry Potter. It was so disappointing, and I just didn't care about anything in it. And like, why did Voldemort need to come back? And who cares about Cedric Diggory enough for him to be a huge part of this? Like, why did any of this happen? Now, I was originally supposed to be in London in May, and I was planning on going to see the actual play while I was there, because I've heard that the play is really good, and I feel like I would enjoy it more in that circumstance. But reading a screenplay of The Cursed Child was a huge letdown. So if you actually did enjoy this, please leave a comment down below, because I really want to know why, and I want to know your thoughts. The next book that I hated, this is a controversial one, is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. So I really enjoyed To All the Boys I've Loved Before. That was a really great trilogy. I loved it, and I bought The Summer I Turned Pretty thinking I was gonna love it too, because I had heard such wonderful things about it on BookTube. And then I started it, and I was so annoyed by every single character. Oh my goodness, this was the dumbest love triangle. The main character, Belly, first of all, who came up with that name? Why would you call her Belly? And she was just so annoying and dramatic and mean to everyone. Like, why she's just hurting everyone, and I hated it so much. I'm having a hard time remembering actually what happened in this book, but I read it really quickly and I hated it the entire time. It was just so bad. They were just such unlikable characters, and I didn't want to root for them, and I didn't care about the romance, and it was just so weird. And I felt like he was supposed to be moving in parts and about friendship and family, and I didn't get it, and I did not continue with the series. I gave the book 2 stars. Nope, it was not it. The next book that I hated was incredibly disappointing, and that was The Dune Boys by Court Stevens. Now, this is the first book that I read along with Booksplosion. I was so excited that they were reading a mystery thriller. I thought I was going to love it. It sounded so interesting. And so I read it, and it didn't make any sense at all. At all. Like, it felt like the timeline was really jumbled, and I didn't quite get what was happening. I couldn't ever connect to the characters. I kept forgetting their names. I didn't care about them. There was this weird thing with like Noah's Ark. I was like, why is this a Noah's Ark retelling? It was so weird. And in the end, I guess it was happy, but it was so sad and so weird. Didn't make any sense. I didn't enjoy it at all. Oh, yeah. And then I watched the Booksplosion live show, and they actually enjoyed it, and I still don't get why. And it makes me so angry that I didn't like this book, because I feel like I'm the only person that didn't get the point of the book. So that made me really angry, but I really hated the Dune Boys. Next is probably the most controversial one on this list, because I have never heard a single bad review of this book, except for my friend Hannah Badger. She also agrees with me that she didn't love it, thankfully. But everyone else in the world loves this book, has extremely high ratings on Goodreads. And that is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. Everyone on BookTube is obsessed with this book. They're always crying about it and talking about how much they love it and how it like changed their lives, and I don't get it. I just don't get it. Didn't make any sense. I still don't get how the stories really relate to the boy's life. Connor, is that his name, Connor? It just felt so juvenile, first of all, which, I mean, I guess it's kind of like a children's book, but it just felt like a weird fable that didn't actually make any sense. I love the illustrations, those were cool, but like the whole thing with the tree and the monster, it just felt weird and it made no sense to me at all. I guess the end is a little sad, but it didn't hit me like it does everyone else, and I don't get why. It wasn't interesting. I've read it twice now, and I want to like it, but I hate it. And then finally, we shall discuss my least favorite book of all time, and that is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. This was the first book that I ever got from Book of the Month Club, and I thought it was going to be like And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. I thought it was going to be incredible. And then I started it, and I have never been so angry. So first of all, it's very character driven, and we're getting all these character backstories. But you know what? All these characters are absolutely terrible, and they are going through these horrible things in their lives, and they're victims of just pain. And you know what? Even though they're victims, those are the characters that you hate. And you know who we sympathize with? The villain. We sympathize with the villain because he is the most interesting character, and we hate the people who are the victims. I hated that. Also, everyone is getting drunk and high the entire time, and I'm like, what? This has got to be the worst wedding in the world, because it's all about a wedding on this private island, and they're all just getting drunk and high, and they're obsessed with sex, and it's just so weird. And then also there's this weird thing, because apparently whatever you did in high school still matters when you're in your 30s. And so like there's this group of friends that went to the same high school, and they're still playing their pranks and stuff, and I'm like, grow up. What is this? I was so angry with this book. I finally got rid of it. I kept it only so that I could rant about it, and then I was like, you know what? It's just making me angry having this book on my bookshelf, so I got rid of it. But yeah, I hate this book, but everyone I've ever talked to has given it 4 or 5 stars, and I hated it. I hated it so much. So these are all of the books that are popular that I hated. So please let me know if you've read any of these books and what you think about them. Also let me know if there are popular books that you don't like. I love talking about these. It's so fun ranting about books. I will see you in my next video, but make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And if you want to, you can even hit the little bell icon so you can be alerted every time I post a new video. Bye!